This past Friday, the investigation into Russian collusion and obstruction of justice around President Donald Trump and his election campaign concluded as Special Counsel Robert Mueller delivered his final report to newly appointed Attorney General William Barr. Barr subsequently released a 4-page memo this weekend clearing Trump of collusion and declining to pursue obstruction charges, although noting that regarding obstruction, the report, quote, does not exonerate the president. The conclusion of the investigation is likely to be just the beginning of the fight in Congress, with Democrats calling for the report to be released in full. To break it all down for us, Hershel sat down with veteran political consultant Tony Cignoli and Western New England University professor John Baick.
So much is the obvious right off the bat. The headline in every newspaper in America today and on every news show, no collusion. And certainly the Trump machine, Republicans, others, political consultants on that side of the aisle, knowing how to utilize that, no collusion. What stands out, it's almost as if the Democratic team didn't really expect this to be the case, because it's a little quiet on the Democratic side. There's not an immediate response. They hadn't prepared, it seems, for what if. And often in campaigns, we have on election night the concession speech and also the victory speech. I don't think they had that ready here. What really sticks out is what everyone has been talking about, certainly no collusion, but not completely exonerated either. How does this spin in the next few weeks while perhaps maybe this report is made public at some point?
John, your impressions of the conclusion reached by Attorney General William Barr?
Well, sure. This is a big win for the Trump team, but they were never going to lose on this. At worst, it was going to be a tie. I mean, the Democrats would have known by now if Trump Jr. had been indicted, for example. But what they probably assumed was that there'd be more language here, more details that they could use for the campaign ahead. What I think is striking about this is how much the Democratic base is unnerved by it, just like the Trump base is so encouraged. I mean, this changes the narrative. There is nothing that Trump can say that won't be believed by his supporters. And for the Democrat side, who are putting so much enthusiasm and so much attention to this report, they've been deflated. And now it's going to be a focus on issues going forward, because this has always been about politics, not just an investigation.
Were you surprised, and Tony mentioned this too, the results of the investigation on collusion were crystal clear. President Trump exonerated. But as Tony alluded, the issue of obstruction of justice is a little bit more of a gray area. Robert Mueller didn't reach a definitive answer one way or the other, throwing it to the Attorney General, who since ruled no obstruction. But after nearly 2 years, hundreds of witnesses, did it surprise you that Robert Mueller couldn't say one way or the other on the issue of obstruction?
I think it comes down to how Mueller sees the law. He is someone, and this is not a Democratic or Republican thing, he is a conservative when it comes to the law, and the law can only do and say some things. Without absolute proof, without documentation, he wasn't going to speculate. Now, that's where the report, if it's released in its entirety with some redactions, is going to let people make up their own minds on some of these issues. But keep in mind that Mueller, this 2-year report, was actually pretty conservative in what he went after. He didn't go after everything. He referred some things to the Southern District, for example. His team was focused on one charge, this question of collusion, and it was a charge that never had any concrete details. Collusion is what you think it means, and I think what Mueller was looking for was a clear criminal conspiracy. Where are the documents? Where are the payoffs? Since those didn't exist, since there was no meeting with Trump and Putin, he couldn't conclude that this existed. Obstruction of justice, of course, depends upon what the Justice Department says. And with this Attorney General, I think he's been thinking about this from before he was even appointed at this position.
Certainly, yeah.
Now, Democrats in Congress are clamoring that this whole report be released. Our Congressman Richard Neal and Jim McGovern, among the Democrats, were calling for full disclosure. How do you see this playing out in Congress next? Present a scenario on what's going to happen next. I assume they'll want Attorney General Barr to testify before them and continue the process. Will they get the full release of this report?
Most likely they should be able to. They should be able to subpoena for it, certainly. But to get Barr in front of them, that's probably likely. But there, too, be careful what you wish for. That's what I'm talking to a lot of Democratic consultants about right now, who are calling to say, what do you think? What's happening? And so if you're Adam Schiff, if you're Congressman Nadler right now, you're thinking about how does this next piece play? And it does seem that some of the really smart members of Congress, Pelosi, Neal, have given caution. Be careful with this. again, teachers and students of history, all of them, they look to, gosh, the last time something like this was attempted, this did not go well for Newt Gingrich. It actually deflated a lot of that energy that Gingrich had come into office with and whatnot. So this is something they've got to deal with very carefully. And just quickly, too, the other thing is that some of the best political pundits and minds are tied up in all these different political campaigns for the presidency right now. And normally, they would be working together on something like this in some instances. Some of them would anyway. But right now, what they're thinking about is, how do I utilize this? How do I play this for my candidate only? So you've got a really fractured Democratic Party when it comes down to the players outside of Congress or those who advise Congress.
One interesting part of the investigation is that the president never appeared before Mueller's team to answer questions. His legal team fought this tooth and nail, obviously. He did answer written questions, but never appeared in person to answer questions. Now, this legal team doesn't want the written answers given to Congress as a matter of confidentiality. Do you see them being able to withhold that information from Congress? The written answers from the president?
They're going to try, and they're going to be able to delay and delay and delay for months and possibly even years. I mean, I think you're talking about Representative Neal. I think pretty soon you're going to actually hear a request about the Trump taxes.
Yeah.
I think he was being very strategic about this. This is a separate issue. He didn't want to get this caught up in all the drama. I think we should remember that Speaker Pelosi was saying a while ago, even before this report wrapped up, that impeachment, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
No matter what the results of this report would have been, unless there had been a photo of Trump and Putin actually with exchanging details and WhatsApp information, I don't think that this would ever have turned into an actual impeachable moment with Republicans controlling one half of Congress.
Does this change the dynamic for the 2020 election now with President Trump? Is this bad news for the Democrats in terms of, how they regroup now and go forward in 2020? And isn't this really going to give the president a lot of momentum going into that election?
It does. It gives him a benefit now. But Democrats, others, the media have got to look at what else came out of this investigation, look at the other indictments, etc. Certainly, there can be a lot of parsing on this, that Paul Manafort's issues were before his time on Trump Watch, but certainly not the case at all for General Flynn. And when you look at some of what Flynn has been indicted on, what he's done and all, I mean, that stuff is, gosh, there was a time when that would bring down a presidency, just that one individual alone. But to better answer quickly your question, what I had said before is one of the problems. You've got some of the best political consultants and minds cut up between different campaigns right now and trying to figure out what's best for my player. Look at the last 48 hours. Not very impressive from the Democratic candidates for president. And also, this makes it tougher for Bill Weld to run right now.
And there are other investigations ongoing, too.
Yeah.
This is not the end of it legally for the president, is it? It's
going to be a slow drip between now and Election Day. There's so many different investigations, and the Democrats are not going to stop with their subpoena power. In terms of campaigns, one can look at this in terms of perhaps a beneficial moment for the Democrats, although they're disappointed. If you base your campaign on this investigation, you're basing it on a sandcastle at best. It could always be washed away. Oliver North emerged as a runaway hero from the Iran-Contra hearings, even though he was guilty of a crime. And if we think about President Clinton, although he perjured himself, he became sympathetic. And it didn't save his presidency per se, but he ended up ending his second term at a 60% popularity rate. There's a certain sympathy and a fatigue factor. If the Democrats had focused on nothing but Mueller for the next year and the Mueller report came out next year, this would have been devastating.
Absolutely.
As it is now, it's a tough moment for Democrats. It's a good moment for Republicans, but it's only one step.